All right, what's up, people? Hope everybody is well. As you're tuning in, let me know as you come on where you're hailing from. Let me know. Let's get rocking and rolling. Let's get this party started. I'm going to wait on a few minutes, just a couple minutes, because there's normally a delay from the time we come on and the time you get the message that we're live. Hey, Martha K, what's up? ATL in the house. I love it. Sunshine Innes from New York. That's very, very cool. I'm all over the country here. Sabine is from California. I love it. Rosie from the ATL. All right. We got someone, Candace Gore, checking in from Houston. Marie Paul from ATL. I love my ATL people. Y'all in my hometown. ATL, where the players play. Okay, forget about it. Listen, if you're joining in, please let me know where you're from. Say hello to me. We're going to be talking back and forth here. I want your input. I want your input and your advice. Say some things, and oh, bless your heart, Marie. Say some things. Let us know you're there. In addition to that, if you have things that you want to say, please. But I want you to peruse the app. People, I cannot emphasize enough. We're about to make some great things happen with this app. And I'm so excited, so excited to have you a part of it. So please get ready. If you're just joining for the lives, that's cool. But for right now, everything's free. We're going to be going into a trial period in February, and then it won't be so free. But we're giving you this right now because we want you to come on. Okay, someone has asked, where's Wendy? The live isn't complete without her. Wow. Hey, what's up, Arthur? You know what? And life is not complete without her, so I do get it. And I'm sure she will be sneaking on any moment now. In fact, you guys, when she gets on, let her know that it's necessary sometimes for her to be live with me. So we'll look forward to that also going forward. All right. Last time we talked about how to avoid conflict. We talked about how to avoid conflict. Look, if you've been in a relationship for more than 10 minutes, you know that, look, relationships are tough, man. And sometimes conflict is inevitable, but a lot of times it's avoidable. Okay? It can be avoidable. You will have some conflict, but it doesn't have to be fatal. Okay? No conflict has to be fatal. And last time we talked about different conflict models, and I want you to understand what I'm saying here. Because when I talk about conflict models, I'm talking about conflict, how to resolve conflict from different perspectives. Because it's like, it may not work for you, what I'm talking about. It may not work. For instance, like last week, we talked about the avoiding conflict model, where just allowing yourself to be silent and it'll sometimes peter out. It's a good temporary measure to give yourself time to think. But also, if you simmer for too long, it can boil over to other problems. We talked about the accommodating model, which is basically just acquiescing or giving in or letting that other person know, you know what? Okay, don't even say I'm going to let you have it. I'm going to relax on this one, and I want to just hear what you have to say. Just accommodate that person, okay? It's not enabling, it's accommodating, all right? And this, I'm going to tell you something. If you think about these models in your everyday life, when you talk to your children, when you're at school, when you're on your jobs, I'm telling you, these models will work. They're time-tested, Harvard, other people have looked at these and they've said these are great models to use. I'm sort of redesigning them for relationships, okay? But the accommodating model is good to also negotiate some reconciliation. Now, let's continue and let's move forward, because I ain't got a whole lot of time and I want to jump in here and I want to get your opinions and your advice and your things. But I want to share with you some more models. Another model to consider when you're talking about trying to resolve conflict. trying to resolve conflict. When that husband or that wife or that boyfriend or that girlfriend or this person I'm meeting on the first date, when they start saying some crazy stuff, how do I resolve conflict? Now, one conflict model is a competing model. Now, I will tell you right now, this is not for the faint of heart. My book says Marriage Ain't for Punks. A competing conflict model ain't for punks. All right, I'm letting you know that. It is not. It is not for punks. What is a competing conflict model? This management style is one where the party forgoes any compromise. He forgets about any, or she forgets about any compromise with the other party, stands firm in their opinion, and decides that they're not going to give up till they get their way. It's actually a negotiating model. Now, how many of you know people like that? Now, you call them stubborn or what have you, but it's actually a negotiation method to stand firm and just drive till you get your way. I don't advise this in any relationship, and let me tell you why. Because there are advantages and disadvantages to every model. But there are people who believe that you can resolve a conflict just by bogarting your way or just by pushing your way through till the person understands. And I'm going to keep going until you understand what I'm saying and that I am right. 99.9% of the time, it does not work. It just simply does not. But there are some advantages to a competing negotiation model. What's the advantage, you might ask? The competing model doesn't leave room for argument, so it can resolve a conflict faster. Yeah, that is an advantage. And if you're arguing with someone and you need conflict quickly, because the best time to use this competing model is when there has to be a decision made quickly. And you ain't got time to negotiate. Time is of the essence. Somebody's got to make a decision. I hear what you're saying, but this is what we're going to do. It's called a competing model. This is what we're going to do. Nope. This is the direction we're going to go. Now, I know this sounds unkind because everybody wants to be touchy-feely and everybody wants to be, whatever. But it's one model that may not work all the time in your relationship, but in other things that you're doing in life, sometimes it does. When you're heading up a company and something is happening and you're negotiating and words are going back and forth, sometimes somebody's got to stand up and just say, nope, this is what we're going to do. And if you're in that position to do so, then you do it. Now, what if you really need them to understand what you're saying and they're not getting it? Okay, fine. And that belies my point. The fact is, if you're going back and forth and there's something that's time sensitive and needs to be handled, someone has to simply step up, make that decision, and say, this is what we have to do. Okay? Because, and again, it's only when a fast decision needs to be made to chart a course of action. And when leadership has to make an unpopular choice, this is the model that they use. When you have to make an unpopular choice. Who is the person that stands up, the husband or the wife? Again, that's my wife. She's here. Again, this is not probably the best thing in a relationship, but we're talking about negotiating models. Okay? Negotiating models. And I said that all of them may not work for your relationship. Okay? But in your business, in your work, in your school, sometimes with your children, it ain't time to get opinions. Honey, well, okay, if you, what do you think? No. Sometimes it's like, this is what's got to happen. It's called a competing model. And I want you to keep it in mind because every time we talk to each other about anything, we're trying to negotiate. Life is about negotiation. And whether you're using the avoidance model, or whether you're using the accommodating model or here the competing model, it's all about us trying to understand each other. Okay? All about us trying to understand each other. So the best way to use this is when there has to be a quick decision, or if you're in leadership and there has to be an unpopular decision, you can't take a whole lot of noise. You got to do what you got to do. You may not like that, but I'm just sharing with you the information. Okay? You got any comments about that? Does that sound like it's unfair? Yeah, it does. But in every company, and sometimes even in relationships, if I'm stranded out somewhere and We're in danger, and ain't time for no prayer meeting. Ain't time for no conference. Ain't time for no committee. Someone says it sounds aggressive. It does. It does. And again, I'm not saying that this is how you resolve family conflict. I'm sharing with you every conflict model. We start with avoidance. We talked about accommodation. This is the competing model. Okay? It may not work in your family. Please understand that. Someone here says it's realistic. Sabine says, I've had to do it. Yeah, and you're a married woman with kids. Sometimes somebody got to make a decision. Yeah, in business, sometimes somebody got to make a decision. Yeah, and sometimes in your family, somebody got to make a decision. Okay? All right. Most of the time it's in business. Most of the time in family, you want to talk that person and get them to understand and get a buy-in, which brings us to the next model, which is a compromising model. Okay? A compromising model is used when both parties in an argument negotiate their terms. Now, let me tell you about the compromising model, because this is a little different. The compromising model says both parties negotiate their terms, okay? They agree to certain points. Some are going to gain and some are going to lose, but you find a medium. Okay, you find a place. Sometimes I have to put my foot down too, right? You find a place something that you both can agree on, but it involves some give and some take. That's a compromise. Compromise is give and take. And sometimes in most situations, when you're arguing or you're trying to debate with a spouse or with a girlfriend or what have you, every decision, every conflict you have, most of them can be resolved by compromise, by a compromising model where you're coming in, you're giving, you're taking. You know what? I'm not going to die on this hill. This is not a hill that I have to die on. So I will allow this point to go so that we can do that. And then that person will say, okay, fine. This is a hill that I'm not going to die on. So I'm going to allow that to go so we can move forward. Okay. Should we buy this house? Well, you know what? We don't need 5,000 square feet. Yeah. Well, you know what? Okay, fine. I'm willing to settle for 4,000. Okay, great. But I got to have an upstairs. I got to have a basement. All right, fine. That's compromise. That's compromise. Okay, this is the way relationships work, and you're absolutely right. It's required in love relationships. Compromise is really important. Now, the advantage here is that compromise helps conflicts to end quickly. They help conflicts to end quickly while maintaining some kind of happiness in the relationship, because everybody feels as though they are being heard. I didn't say winning; they are being heard. Okay, and it's just probably the fairest way to resolve a conflict. It's not always equal, meaning everyone's going to get everything they want. Okay, everyone, and that's let me just point that out real quick. The idea that in a compromise everybody gets what they want is unrealistic. In a compromise, you get some of what you want, and you lose some of what you want. That's how you compromise. In a compromise, you give, you take, but the goal here is to accomplish the thing that we're trying to accomplish. And if we're both giving in, we're both getting something that we want out of it, then that's fine. And that's the advantage, is that it helps end the conflict quickly. When you can define what those things are that you want, what those things are that he wants, what those things are that you can live without, what are those things that she can live without, and you move forward. Okay? All right. Sabine said, compromise has kept me married for 22 years. Come on, girl. What if your partner feels as if every situation isn't a compromising situation and or topic? Now, here's a problem, and I thank you for saying that. Now, true enough, every situation isn't a compromising situation. Okay? However, if your partner feels as though no situations are compromising, then that's a problem. And that person actually needs to talk to someone and find out, why is it important for them to win every argument? Why is it important for them that their word has to be the preeminent word in every argument? Okay? Because that comes from some hurt place that they've been dealing with in their life, and they don't want to be taken advantage of. They don't want to feel as though they're being screwed. All right? Someone says here, who is this? Can you go shopping for me? If you can't, just compromise by just putting the money in my account. And then I go shopping. Good compromise, right? Jesus. Okay. Yes, Wendy. Yes, Wendy. Great compromise. Argument over. Absolutely. Right. And she's saying that because she knows I don't like to go shopping with her. But I compromise. I'll take her there. I'll take my computer, but I'll sit in the car. Yeah, I'm sorry. That's our compromise. And I'm good with that. Yes. So the disadvantage of the compromising model is that it doesn't necessarily mean finding a solution to make everybody happy. Everyone's not going to be happy. And the time to use a compromising model is when winning an argument or winning a debate is going to cause more damage to the relationship than good. And if you feel like trying to hold on to your point is going to cause more pain than good, then learn how to compromise. It's really, really important that you get that. Because I know some of you guys are wondering, well, how the heck do you use a competing model? Well, sometimes you got to make that decision, those decisions that are hard. But when it comes to compromise and in relationships, sometimes you have to learn how to give, you have to learn how to take, and you have to learn that in a compromising model, that everybody's not going to get everything they want. It's just not going to happen. But the goal will be accomplished. And what is actually important? Is it getting everything you want, or is it accomplishing the goal? Whatever you're arguing about, where the kids go to school, is it in finding the best solution, or is it in you building up your ego? What is the goal? And as long as couples can keep in their mind what the goal is, they can get over it. Almost anything they can overcome. Okay. Now, there's a difference between the compromising model, okay, and the collaborating model. Let's talk about that for a second. Here's a question from Wendy. What about if you're with someone who thinks compromising is doing what they say and they can't see that that's selfish? Well, that's why we're doing these seminars. That's why we're doing these lives. And that person should be on here. Because compromising isn't doing what you say. Compromising is giving in. It's giving in. It's releasing what you want sometimes. And I think that any man who wants to stay married for any period of time understands that in order for you to have a happy marriage, you must give in. And you just can't have everything you want. And the same thing with women. I think social media has really screwed us up because it gives us this false idea that we can have whatever we want. Well, you can if you're going to be by yourself. You can have anything you want and everything you want if you want to be alone. But if you want to be with somebody else, no, sometimes you're going to have to let them have what they want. All right. The collaborating model. I refer to this as a win-win model. As opposed to compromising where you have to give and take, you're not going to get everything you want. A collaborating model or a collaborating management style is where both parties come to understand each other's viewpoints and then agree to a partnership. Now, I have very seldom seen this done in a marriage. Very seldom have I seen this done, where both parties can agree and compromise and their viewpoints are written out and they say, you know what, we're going to do all this. We're going to combine our goals and we're going to move forward to accomplish them both. Sounds impossible, don't it? Well, if you've been married long enough, you know that that one is pretty much near impossible. That if you're going to collaborate on a thing, now sometimes it is, especially when partners are doing businesses together, they're working together, you can collaborate on things, okay? Here's some comments. Let me get these real quick. What if the compromise is balanced well? One compromise is more than the other for peace's sake. Absolutely. Well, that's what a compromise is. If the compromise is balanced well, one person will compromise more than the other. At least that's what you will think that you're doing. The other person might think that they're compromising. They're compromising more. And it really doesn't make a difference because, again, you're focusing on the goal. All right? What if the compromise is not balanced well and one person compromises more than the other for peace's sake? That's what a compromise is. giving in for peace's sake. And this time you might give in a little bit more. The next time they might give in a little bit more. What you're talking about is a collaboration where everybody gets what they want and you move together to accomplish that goal. You can't always get what you want, but if you try sometimes, you just may find you get what you need. Come on, boy, you're trying to drop knowledge. Yeshua says you won't get all you want. But again, if you're focusing on the goal, sometimes you will get what you need. Exactly. Because you're letting go in order to move forward. Okay? But if people refuse to see their negative ways and they refuse to go to counseling, should the other person just live with it for the sake of peace? Now, you guys are throwing in, you're not getting it. Okay, you're not getting it. Okay, this is not, when we talk about compromise, and I think not 50-50. One spouse is a bully. No. Compromise is not 50-50. No, compromise is not 50-50. Let's make that perfectly clear. Okay, compromise, understanding that 100% is the goal. Compromise might be 60-40. Compromise might be 70-30. And at different times, at different positions in your relationship, at different points, it will vary. This time, this person gets 60 and this person gets 40. The next time, this person gets 65 and this person gets what, 35? The next time, this person might get 90, this person gets 10. The next time, this person might get 90 and this person gets 10. It's called marriage. You're not going to get 50-50. It doesn't work that way. It never has. Show me a marriage where everybody's getting completely equal satisfaction. And I'll show you two people who are lying. No, you're not getting equal. No, especially when remember we're talking about conflict resolution. We're not talking about the good times. You go to bed, you have sex, of course, everybody getting what they want. Then we're not talking about that. We're talking about when you're resolving conflict. This is all about conflict resolution. Okay? Okay, let's go on because they're all coming with the comments now. Compromise may look like releasing control for the betterment of you both. Absolutely. You're getting it. Absolutely. Compromise is a strategic retreat that gains ground. Absolutely. Sounds good, but if you have an individual who is always, but you have individuals who always want the 70 or 80. Yes, you do have individuals like that. There are some people who want the most, right? Again, we advocate strongly that people go into counseling. Okay? Because if there are people who feel as though they want the majority vote every time, there are a couple things happening. Number one, they may not trust your judgment. I'm going to be straight with you. If they feel as though that it's always got to lean their way every time, it may be that they simply think that they know better than you. Now, I'm not the one to say whether they do or they don't. I'm saying that anyone who thinks that has a bigger problem. Because the question is, how much do they value you? How much do they value your intellect? How much do they value your wisdom? Okay? And I think the MAFP user is saying it here, that sometimes you have to just agree to disagree, and that's what compromising is. Okay? I think that quite often we've been sold this falsity that we're always supposed to end up with everybody, and after an argument ends and everybody or conflict arises, everybody feels good when it's over. No. Everybody doesn't need to feel good. Everybody needs to feel at least satisfied that the goal is going to be reached. Somebody might be a little less happy than the other person. It's called compromise. It's called giving in. That's a tug of war. You're pulling, the other person's pulling, release. Let them go. Let them win this time. Next time you're pulling, hopefully they'll understand and release. This time you win. And so you have this going back and forth. Marriage is an art. Relationships are an art. It's not a science. It's not 50-50. It's an art. And you have to allow yourself that room. Okay? Dating people question, because we're coming to an end here. What about some women who want their man to pay all the bills with his money and she uses her money on herself? Or in marriages or wherever too. He wants to compromise on the issue, but she refuses to budget. Should he end the relationship? If you're dating and thank you for this. Thank you for this because I want you to get this. Someone says, I'm listening and learning. Great. I want you to get this. If you're in a dating relationship and you're finding someone who will not compromise, who won't even collaborate. They want their way or the highway. And it's okay because you're comfortable with it right now. If you're dating, you cannot just look at the right now. You have to look at the one day. And what about then? Okay? And if someone is not willing to yield to you now, trust and believe that when you're married, they will be more stern in not yielding later. Marriage is relationships, dating is sort of like the boot camp for marriage. All right? And if you don't pass that boot camp, please don't go into battle. Don't do it. All right? Tima Olawumi, thank you. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Our time is up. Okay? What happens when neither is willing to compromise? How do you resolve the conflict? If neither is willing to compromise, are you married, MAFP user? Are you married or single? If you're married and you're not willing to resolve the conflict, then there has to be counseling because people need to understand how to compromise. You have to get professional help. If you're dating and no one wants to compromise, you have to question the sustainability of that relationship. Okay? All right. We're done. Come back on Thursday night. We're going to continue. Okay? Tell your friends, bring back somebody. I want to see some testosterone in this room also. Bring some men back so we can continue this thing on Wednesday night. All right? We're going to talk more about relationships and how to make it through this stuff. All right? God bless you guys, and we'll see you on Thursday.